This is James Taylor, and you're listening to The Creative Life. The Creative Life podcast is a show created for you, the creative. If you're looking for inspiration, motivation, and advice while at home, at work, or on your daily commute, then this show is for you. Each episode brings you a successful creative, whether that's a musician, writer, artist, designer, performer, educator, or creative entrepreneur. They share their journey, their successes, their failures, their creative process, their insights, and much, much more. In this episode, I speak with electronic music artist Mike Cykoski, and we talk about studying film at NYU, writing music and songs using Abelton, and getting burnt out on touring. Enjoy this episode. Hey, it's James Taylor, and I'm delighted today to have Mike Cykoski. Mike is the man behind New York arty, literate, indie pop music project A is for Atom. Mike has always been a fearless composer, drawing inspiration from time-honored pop, rock, songcraft, literature, classical, and avant-garde music to create his signature sound. After studying music at Juilliard, NYU, Harvestworks, and Dubspot, his epiphany came when a friend invited him to check out some electronic acts. He says, "These artists had guitars, computers, and their voice, and witnessing that opened so many creative doors. It made me feel like I could finally produce what I heard in my head." And it's my pleasure to have Mike on the show today. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, James.
So share with our listeners, what's going on in your world just now?
Well, right now I'm just, I've been doing some shows. I've been doing a little bit of touring. Like I've been, I think I did the entire continent of North America. I did a show in Mexico City, Austin, Texas for South by Southwest, and New York City, and then I did Toronto for something called Canadian Music Week. So, and I did a show this last weekend that went really well in Brooklyn. So, you know, things are pretty good, and just doing a lot of recording and having enjoying the warm weather that's finally come to New York.
And then you mentioned Canadian Music Week. I mean, I hear that's a great event to both play at and also to just kind of hang out. And there's a lot of really great artists there.
Oh, it was fantastic. I met a lot of people. Had a great showcase. Toronto is just an amazing place to really have a good time. And, you know, I saw a lot of really cool, also a bunch of cool bands that gave me a lot of ideas to, you know, about, you know, how I want to perform my stuff live. And a lot of people liked what I did live. So it was definitely a great event for me.
And I mentioned at the start there, you know, you studied music at, you know, Juilliard and different places, but where did it all begin for you? Where did the music bug bite for you? Where did it start?
So that started when I've always been playing it. Like my mom is a musician, and so she would have me play in her folk bands. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, and so I was always, you know, she would play gigs, and I'd play the bass with her. It started when I was like, you know, 13 years old. So I started doing that, and then I would just be in my various bands in high school, sort of like a lot of classic rock type bands, you know, a lot of Led Zeppelin, that kind of stuff. So I've just been playing since a young age, you know, and you know, even on the classical music side, my dad is big, you know, film music buff. So I just kind of picked up a lot of that, and you know, I went to NYU for film scoring. So I did that and a lot of music technology. So, you know, I've just had the music bug for a while, and I've always just tried to keep you know, I want to have the love of music. So I'd like to have a kind of a separation of what my day job is and what my you know, doing the music, so I can keep the passion and not worry about having a hustle.
And then with the, you mentioned, you know, going to NYU and doing the music for film, and obviously a lot of technology kind of came into that as well. When musically for you, when did you kind of really start going down more of the, you know, the electronic route, rather than maybe you mentioned like kind of Led Zeppelin, all those kind of bands that you kind of start with? When did the move more into kind of the electronic side? When did that start?
Well, yeah, that's interesting too. Like at NYU as well, like I did a lot of these technology classes that were like, you more about electronic music performance. So I took a few of those with a couple of notable guys, Joel Chadby and Morton Subotnick is kind of famous for his album called Silver Apples of the Moon, and it's a very they're getting me into like the idea of performing with a laptop, and I was resistant for a long time. And then I still did it, and I had an interesting time doing it. I was always trying to incorporate acoustic instruments just to kind of give a little bit more of a what I like to hear. But so then as the time went on, more and more people started to just do that mix of computers, guitars, drum machines, etc. Just kind of all the worlds kind of blending together. And so it's also a financial thing. It's like in New York, I've been able to cut performance costs as well, which is kind of like
by just been going out there with the laptop and one other person.
Yeah, so it's like instead of a whole band, which I was doing, it's just kind of getting expensive. I just was like, well, I can do that. Like some of these big bands are, just doing that. So I'll just, kind of try to incorporate that into my act. I wanted to make it. That's when I started going to places like Dubspot, because I was like, what are these guys doing? The DJs or the performers, electronic performers. DJs just go up there and or even producers and perform. I wanted to know what they're doing, and I learned a lot of that. And I was surprised about how fun that was. So I started incorporating that into my set, and even doing some producing myself, which has been it's kind of fun. I'm producing a new song for me, so that's coming out soon.
And then when you're thinking about kind of coming up either with a new project, or you're going to work on some tunes, where do a lot of your new ideas come from? Where do you kind of go for inspiration? And once you have maybe some kind of basic idea of what you want to do or what you want to write about, how do you go about kind of developing that up into a finished song?
Yeah, well, I do a couple things. I try to do as many things to just keep it going. A lot of times I just have my recorder with me. I'll even have a dream sometimes and try to hum it in to the iPhone, the voice memo thing. It just depends. If I have a melody in mind, I want to, get that kind of down somewhere. And if I'm lucky, I have a melody and a cool lyric at the same time. And so I'll write those down, or kind of even just say it. My favorite is to have a melody and the words at the same time. But a lot of times I'll just be like, I have an idea for just a concept of a song, and then come up with the melody, but then sometimes vice versa. And then I throw everything, like I do like a little demo in Abelton, and so I do everything in Abelton. And then I've been starting to work with a native instruments program called Machine, or in Germany they call it Machina, and so it's just using everything that I can. And I sit down at the piano. That's what I was doing at Juilliard, was a lot of piano and composition. And so I've kind of used my piano to round everything out and get it, work on the forms, etc. So it starts out with a kind of vague idea, and it kind of gets into it kind of changes a lot when I'm working with the piano and the guitar and Ableton.
And then when you maybe have a project in mind, you want to write pieces around it. Are you kind of writing like every single day, or are you working on things in the morning and journaling in the morning, or do you tend to maybe batch things, around a particular time when you have some time off, or around weekends?
No, I think I'm just writing all the time. I'm and things come to me all the time, and sometimes it's kind of embarrassing that I just have to hum into the phone. I have to hum into the voice message, the voice memo. So a lot of times, I mean, I'd love to be able to spend a week and write, but I mean, it's just kind of busy here in New York, so I have to just write all the time.
So you're writing on subways, you're writing on breaks everywhere, but it's always having something that you can very quickly kind of get it down into some form. And you're just saying use the voice memos for that.
Yeah, and a lot of times I have like a huge like a really productive couple of days, and I'll start just making a whole bunch of demos. It's like, all right, I have 15, 16 demos to go record them. I have a recording booth in my apartment, so I'll sing I'll sing some tracks, and I've been demoing those for producers or seeing if they're interested in doing those, and then so it's like there's a lot to choose from. So it's kind of, and right now I have this creative kind of explosion these days. So I'm just writing as much as I can.
And can you tell us about a time in this kind of creative journey that you've gone through where maybe where there's been a project where you've given your all to it, you've given your heart and your soul to it, but for whatever reason it just hasn't worked out like you'd hoped? And more importantly, what were the lessons that you took away from that experience?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was in a touring act because Colorado. It was a jam band, and it did really well. And it was a good band. I had a great time, but the band, it fell to the pressures of it's pretty standard pressures, which at the time I was fairly upset about, but now I'm just it's just the way it goes. But it was heartbreaking for me because I was expecting to be really successful and be a full-time musician, and of course it didn't happen. I ended up having to work at a restaurant, and just kind of everything kind of fizzled. And then so what I learned was I wanted it to just be able to have everything on my own terms, and then and I don't want to get burned out on music. I want to love it. So I just, I want to, have that balance, like the life balance, and not be sick of playing.
And were some of the problems in that band because other members weren't as committed to doing it at that level, or was it just a level of intensity of playing night after night after night, and then not really having a chance to maybe do kind of other things that you mentioned, that kind of balance, or was it just general personality things that were going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, with that band, it was I had joined the band when they were well into their their success. So I think that the people who were running the show were way more burned out on touring than I was. So I think that they wanted to have more of a home life. They were questioning whether it was successful or not. And it was just like I had kind of a say. I thought I had more of a say than I did, but I think that it just was kind of a for them, they needed to stop doing it and they
take a break for a while.
Yeah, and so they did that, and I think that they kind of, I don't know, I haven't talked to them lately, but they probably just are. I think they're starting to get back into wanting to go on the road, or, and I was like that a few years ago, but I was having a great time touring on my own terms rather than just being, like 10 shows in a row.
Non-stop every single night. And on this journey that you've had as well, can you tell us about any insights or light bulb moments in this journey, where times where you maybe gone, okay, maybe this is a direction I need to take with the music I'm doing, or something that you mentioned kind of that balance as well, but have there been any kind of insights or light bulb moments when you've made decisions either creatively or around the music, the business side of what you do as well?
Yeah, for the business side, I've had definitely light bulb moments about like wanting to I mean, I'm kind of a control freak in that way, but I need to be able to let go of it a bit. And so what I've learned is, you know, like, especially music in New York City, a tough market like this, is just I've gotta just, it's kind of like planting a garden. Like, I've been doing some gardening. Like, I notice this when I'm growing these seeds, and some of the seeds work, some of them take, and some of them don't. And sometimes these plants are doing really well, and sometimes they're just not doing well. And these plants are right next to each other, so it doesn't make any sense, like, why one works and one doesn't. So it's just, I think that's kind of my light bulb in the past few weeks. It's like, hey, you know, you gotta, you know, when you're planting a garden, you gotta establish the roots, and it you know, makes, you know, give it time. And so I've learned that, like, I got to do that with music as well. So, like, sometimes I want to abandon what I'm doing, but a lot of times, if I just stick to it, it seems to kind of, you know, take root and you know, start to you know, become established. So I've you know, it's my kind of light bulb moment.
And what keeps you going in those times where it doesn't look like anything's flowering, nothing's flourishing? It's taking a while to get to imagine the kind of frustration. But what kind of carries you through that period and keeps you creating? I just kind of yeah, because that's I think that everybody goes through that. I've been going through that. Like, you know, I think what I do is just kind of focus on the good things. Focus on, hey, man, I'm living in New York City. I moved here. I'm doing well here, and I'm able to do music. I can do it, and I'm having a good time. Whether, you know, if I have 2 people show up to my show, and I still have a good time. If I have, like, the other day we had, like, you know, 75, so that was a good thing for me. But I just try not to dwell on that. Like, I just know that there are going to be successes and failures, so I just kind of try to take a Zen approach. Yeah. And is there, you know, we were talking about a little bit of technology kind of earlier on there as well. Is there any kind of online resources or tools or mobile apps, things like Evernote, that you absolutely love?
Well, for writing lyrics, there's something called rhymezone.com that I just kind of live by. It has everything. It has rhymes, thesaurus, antonyms, synonyms. It's just it's an amazing, you know, website that, you know, for writing lyrics. And for and there's also, like, a couple, like, I'm really loving I mean, I don't know if this is what you meant, but there's an app called iMachine from Native Instruments that's just, like, it's a beat creating app.
Yeah, I know a couple of artists that are using this now that are having great fun using it.
It's the best thing. I mean, I've written all these songs on it. It's just so fun to do. I love that app. And then, you know, anything from isotopes I've been really enjoying. It helps my creativity a lot. They have a lot of great mixing, you know, programs, and, you know, and I do a lot of you know, since I went to the place called Dubspot, they have a lot of online tutorials that are really great for, you know, doing Abelton or iMachine or just about any kind of electronic program, you know. So, I mean, they have this school in Los Angeles, there's one in New York, and I think a lot of people come around. I mean, it's a great community, and
I suppose that, I mean, that's one of the things that with that power of everyone having these tools now in terms of creation and distribution, then the onus is on you then to really kind of learn, almost like treating it like another instrument. So you can only express as much as your skills and your technique allow you to express. And if you're constantly not doing something because you don't quite know how to use that particular, you know, plugin or that particular thing, that can hold you back.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of these guys, I mean, what I've learned too, especially with electronic music, because like, I mean, a lot of these guys just go in and do it whether they know how to do it or not. It's just it's like, you know, their comfort level of releasing it. You know, they're just like, I'm going to put it out. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it. You know, and I think that confidence has been kind of an eye opener for me. I mean, it's amazing that some of these guys are doing really well, and you know, I think that they're putting a lot of creativity into it. But I think a lot of what, you know, some of the early electronic performers, like, you know, even John Cage wanted to do, was make music more available and less exclusive. You know, so I find that just really reassuring that I mean, I can go in, there's people with varying levels of understanding of, you know, music theory, but they're putting out this really cool stuff that's like, wow, I would have never thought of that, you know, by, you know, practicing music theory. So it's just like, I think it's a great time. It's a great resource for just about anybody who wants to do it.
And if you could recommend one record and one book to our listeners that you think they should check out, what would they be?
Well, I think that if you're into the electronic music, I really think you should check out "Silver Apples of the Moon" by Morton Subotnick. That's just a crazy early electronic album. I mean, it's kind of like known as the godfather of electronic music. I mean, I think it would be interesting if you're into that kind of music, and for books, I mean, I'm going to go to Paris this summer, so I think I'm going to, you know, Movable Feast. I recommend.
Get a bit of Hemingway in there.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a great orchestration book that by Rimsky-Korsakov. I think that if you're ever interested in classical music, you should read. I mean, just to understand that what you know, the romantic period composers were doing. So it was like I enjoyed that book if you're kind of a nerdy musician like me.
Great. We'll put all these down. If people go to jamestaylor.me, you'll be able to find the links for all these on the show notes as well. So a final question for you here, Mike. Let's imagine if you woke up tomorrow morning and had to start from scratch. So you have all the tools of your trade, you have your laptop, you have Abelton, you have the instruments that you need as well, and the knowledge that you've acquired over these years, but you have no contacts, no one knows who you are, you have to restart things. How would you restart?
That's great. That's interesting. That's kind of what I did with this project anyway. So I think I'd just do the same thing. I would, you know, have a concept to get an idea and just kind of go with it, and then put my. I think I would honestly be a little bit more aggressive with it. I would release stuff all the time. You know, not worry about anything, any kind of, you know, what people are thinking or et cetera, and we just go out there full force.
Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. I wish you all the best with the new releases that you've got coming on. What's the best way that people can find out more about you and your music and connect with you?
I think if you look at the website, which is www.aisforadam.com, or you can get me on Twitter, which is, you know, A is for Adam, or Instagram, also A is for Adam, and then Facebook as well, A is for Adam Music, and you could reach me at all those things directly.
Great. Well, I wish you all the best with the future music that you're creating, Mike, and I look forward to catching up again soon.
Great, definitely.
Hey, James Taylor here again. And if you're interested in living a more creative life, then I'd love to invite you to join me as I share some of the most successful strategies and techniques that high-performing creatives use. I put them all together in a free downloadable ebook that you can get by going to jamestaylor.me. That's jamestaylor.me to get your free downloadable ebook on creativity.